than to a sporting event. The atmosphere before a game, I think Game Time Decisions has that same exact atmosphere. This is our arena. This is what we do. There is going to be an energy to Game Time Decisions that you will feel night in and night out. The excitement you get when you lock your bets in, when you're figuring out what you want to do, we can zone in on the biggest games each night. I want this to be the place that people come to before the games start so they feel as ready as possible to lock in their cards. We are going to hit every single one of those markets that you need to know about. We're going to go through every single thing, and I've got a great team behind me that's going to help me get the job done. There is not going to be a better place, I promise you, than Game Time Decisions to get that new information, react to it, and be able to then bet accordingly. We will have everything at our disposal, and we will use that to our advantage. I'm Kevin Walsh. Tune into Game Time Decisions from 6 to 8 p.m. Eastern on SportsGrid.
It's a new era in CFB to start off this year, put on full display.
My take on this game is simple. I know some people will be upset about it. Good riddance to the Pac-12.
Can you do it in terms of the week to week to week?
I don't see a pathway for this team to miss the college football playoff.
We want to make sure you have those best bets in the entirety of our betting cards. That was thinking! But he had that program was already going there!
Only on SportsGrid.
Let's go. Welcome to the Live Golf Team Championship.
The golf has been mesmerizing.
They are the Live Golf Team Champions.
Team golf is back.
Oh, yes!
Are you ready?
Let's go!
That's what champions do.
Good morning. Welcome to NewsWire here on SportsGrid. Would you believe football is back yet again tonight? Thursday night football in the NFL. Did we even have a couple of days off from it? I'm not sure. But here in South Florida, the Buffalo Bills are taking on the Miami Dolphins. Of course, we will have a full preview of the game and get into some college football with Bill Bender of Sporting News. Of course, we always have a guest contributor from Legal Sports Report, and we're diving into the latest news, notes, odds, and information, of course, from around professional and college football, talking some baseball as well. Did you catch Shohei Ohtani again yesterday, closing in on 50-50, a historical record, which we now have a tracker. We're keeping an eye on Ohtani to see if he ends up getting to that number. Could happen, actually, in South Florida next weekend. But some big news out of college football today, which is going to affect yet another conference. Good and bad news, depending on how you look at it. The good news comes for the Pac-12, as there is a report out there right now from Brett McMurphy that says that 4 schools are set to announce later today that they will depart the Mountain West. So that's the bad news. The good news is the Pac-12 stays alive. So it depends on how you want to look at this. Boise State, Colorado State, San Diego State, and Fresno State will begin the 2026-27 season in the Pac-12. They would join Oregon State and Washington State, who are the only 2 schools left in the Big 12. Now, there's a flip side to this story. That, of course, is the Mountain West. And Gloria Navarez, who is the Mountain West commissioner, has her own thoughts on this development today. Here's what she had to say. All members will be held to the conference bylaws and policies should they elect to depart. The requirements of the scheduling agreement will apply to the Pac-12 should they admit the Mountain West members. Our board of directors is meeting to determine the next steps. The Mountain West has a proud 25-year history and will continue to thrive in the year ahead. Now, there is an exit fee, folks, for each of these schools leaving, and this is a key number here because the Pac-12 probably going to have to pick up the dime here. $18 million with 2 years' notice. So will the schools pay this? Will the Pac-12 end up paying this? I mean, they have the money to do it, but needless to say, that's the next part of the story that we'll need to unpack before they move forward. All right, now to the NFL and the story in the National Football League still surrounding Tyreek Hill, who met with the media yesterday, calling for the firing of one of the police officers that was involved in his detainment before their game this past Sunday against the Jacksonville Jaguars. Needless to say, he continues to discuss it and is not quite yet ready to move on, understandably so. A very emotional time for him. Here's what he said meeting with the media yesterday about the police officer.
Your lawyer has come out and said that he's looking for the dismissal of the officer. What does that mean?
Gone.
So you want the officer to be
gone. He got to go, man. Because in that instant right there, like, not only did he treat me bad, you know what I'm saying, he also treated my teammates with, disrespect. He had some crazy words towards them, and they ain't even do nothing. Like, what did they do to you? They just walking on the sidewalk. So, I don't know, bro. Like, he got to go, man. Like, it's not too many times that cheaters say people got to go, but out. What they say on Wild and Out? Gone. No comprende.
all right. Thank you.
You knew I was going to say something crazy.
Yeah, we did know that something crazy would be said, and that was Tyreek Hill yesterday. Not a surprise there. All right, Hill is expected to suit up tonight, of course. The Dolphins will play the Bills. The odds right now, Miami -2.5. Buffalo has dominated Miami. In fact, Josh Allen's never lost on Thursday Night Football. 6-0 as they're on the road tonight. Total 48.5. Some rain expected for the early part of this game. Right now, it appears the Dolphins are very depleted at running back. Raheem Mostert is out of this game. We'll hear from Dr. Chow coming up on his injury in the SportsGrid sound-off. Meanwhile, Devon Achane practiced. Looks like he's going to give it a shot tonight. If he can't go, you have Jalen Wright, you have Jeff Wilson Jr., so we'll keep an eye on who plays at running back for Miami, and warm-ups will be critical tonight around 6:30, 7 o'clock Eastern. The National Football League ratings just keep on getting stronger. They set another record. The NFL averaged 21 million viewers per game. It was the most watched week one on record. The league and Nielsen ratings said that per game average on TV was up 12%. All told, 123 million people saw at least part of one game. That's the highest since 2019. Joe Burrow supposedly has some sort of wrist injury. Kind of funny that he was talking about this yesterday. I don't know if we saw this press conference, but he said it's not affecting his throws. And Burrow said that he's just fine. Meanwhile, the Browns put David Njoku on injured reserve, so he's going to miss 4 games. Juan Thornhill is also going to be out 4 games as well. They put them both on injured reserve yesterday. Meanwhile, Baltimore Ravens linebacker, how about this? Kyle Van Noy ripped into the Chiefs medical staff for a lack of urgency after he suffered an eye injury in Thursday's game, calling it unacceptable and unprofessional. The Chiefs had no comment on the issue. Sharon Moore of the Michigan Wolverines has finally finalized his contract. Of course, this was going back and forth all offseason. Now it's a completed deal with the Wolverines. I know that's a little bit surprising. That's kind of the way that it's gone. He had signed a contract after coaching the first 2 games of the season without one. Reggie Bush, how about this? An attempted break-in in his home in Encino, California. He says everyone is safe in a text message, but the LA Police Department said that someone broke a glass in his house, glass window, tried to break in, steal Reggie Bush's stuff. Tonight in college football, there is a game as well. Texas State -1.5 against Arizona State, total of 60.5. And by the way, really good story coming out yesterday from Michigan State and Boston College. Coming up on September 21st, they're going to honor a hero from the tragedy on 9/11. That's coming up next weekend. Now, as I mentioned, in Major League Baseball, get ready for history because, folks, it appears to be coming even faster than we thought. Shohei Ohtani last night stole his 48th base, and he also hit his 47th home run. No one in the history of baseball has ever gone 50-50. Ohtani plays over the next several days. I believe it's Thursday, Friday, Saturday, Sunday. If he doesn't do it then, he's off Monday. And then Ohtani's here in South Florida playing the Marlins for a few games. So we'll see if that ends up happening in my backyard. The Mets beat the Jays late, almost a no-hitter for Toronto. And then all of a sudden the game broke out. Total for the game was 7.5. Francisco Lindor hit a home run. Mets score 6 runs in the top of the 9th inning. Poor Blue Jays can't get out of their own way this season. Francis Bowden, he's been pitching great for Toronto, but no no-hitter, no win, and the team even lost in the game yesterday. All right, back to the American League East update we go. Jazz Chisholm Jr. ends up beating the Royals on a walk-off, fielder's choice in extra innings. And Tyler O'Neill hits a home run for the Red Sox to beat the Orioles. So now the Yankees are back to 1.5-game lead in the American League East. And also Tampa Bay Rays relief pitcher Edwin Uceta, who hit Nick Castellanos a couple of days ago, has been suspended 3 games by Major League Baseball for hitting him. And Kevin Cash, the manager of the Rays, also suspended 1 game, although he will appeal it. Let's get to some sports betting revenue numbers. How about Maine? We'll start off there. They have 2 legal sports books, DraftKings and Caesars. And sports revenue, in terms of the money that they're making in the sports book, how about this? Drops 40%. Very uncharacteristic, although in the summer you would expect these numbers to dip, maybe not as much. A'ja Wilson broke the WNBA season scoring record, 86-75, pull-up jumper, 26 seconds left in the game, 941 points this season. She breaks the record held by Jewel Lloyd. And Aaliyah Edwards had 15 points and 10 rebounds as the Mystics continue their playoff push. They blew out the Chicago Sky. The final score in that game, 89-58. Well, believe it or not, one of the best games in college football this week is coming up tomorrow night between Arizona and Kansas State. The Wildcats have one of the best wide receivers in the country. In fact, he's already got 6 touchdowns through the first 2 games. So we'll learn a little bit more about him and also talk to Bill Bender about some of the upcoming games this week, including Boston College and Missouri. And can South Carolina pull off an upset against the LSU Tigers? We'll explore that and a whole lot more. We return next on NewsWire.
The Bostonian versus the book.
Would it make you feel better as a bettor or as a sports fan if they said after the game we were trying to cover the spread?
Oh, God. To say it out loud? Oh, my God, no.
So what,
no to say it out loud? Oh, my God. You can't say that out loud. No, you can't do that.
Okay, so what is the big deal either way?
Oh, play the game the right way.
The Bostonian versus the book.
I feel like the first person to take a kicker in fantasy football is somebody that feels like, man, I had a really bad draft. Let me make sure I get the best kicker. The way I've always looked at it that way. Like, oh, I did so bad, so let me take Justin Tucker.
The key for me is, though, I make marks. Okay, this guy, I'll highlight him because I don't want 3 or 4 of these guys. I draft 3 or 4 of these guys and they all get hurt. I have no one to blame but me.
Fantasy sports today, only on SportsGrid.
When you're really, really amazing like this, people kind of take it for granted. Same with Ohtani, right? People will sort of see, oh, Ohtani did this, Ohtani did that, and it sort of, becomes normalized a little bit. But to put in context, Aaron Judge joins the 1,000 hit club, reaches, gets it done. So earlier this month, he was the fastest player to reach 300 home runs ever.
Sports Rage Late Night, only on SportsGrid.
Let's go. Welcome to the Live Golf Team Championship.
The golf has been mesmerizing.
They are the Live Golf Team Champions.
Team golf is back.
Oh, yes!
Are you ready?
Let's go! That's what champions do.
Welcome back to NewsWire here on SportsGrid. We got Bill Bender. Always fun to bring in Bill as we are ready for some college football. We have 1 game tonight in college football, really big game tomorrow night, and then we'll preview the slate coming up this weekend. So, Bill, welcome back here to the show. We've already seen some shakeup here in the top 25, without a doubt. Top 5, top 10 already not looking like it did at the beginning of the season, and I think some things will get sorted out tomorrow night as well. Thanks for coming on.
Yeah, no question. That Kansas State-Arizona game is going to be a lot of fun. I've had a lot of hard time reading this line because part of me believes, yes, Arizona is going to throw the ball around with Tetairoa McMillan. For anybody who hasn't seen him play, had 300 receiving yards a couple weeks ago. But I feel this way, a little bit of an unfamiliarity factor. They haven't been to Manhattan. Kansas State stops the run well, runs the ball well. 6-2 against the spread at home last season. And I know Arizona was a super dog, but I feel like the Wildcats are going to do one of those moves where they're up by 6 or 7 and they get the late cover and make the bettors happy. I like I can't say Wildcats. Both teams are named Wildcats. I'm going to go with K-State here.
Yeah, under Snyder, K-State getting points through the years was just absolutely fantastic, So, I mean, they are getting 7.5 here. Generally speaking, Arizona not ranked a lot in the top 25. And I would love the game if K-State wasn't ranked at all. But the fact that usually the team that's not ranked at home taking on a ranked opponent on the road is like money in the bank against the spread. But that's not the case here. By the way, total seems a little higher, 58.5. As you mentioned, McMillan's been fantastic. 10 catches, 304 yards, and 4 touchdowns in the first game. Not as many catches second game, 2 for 11 and 2 touchdowns. And by the way, I checked this over on FanDuel. Not listed among the Heisman Trophy Award candidates. So, certainly we'll keep an eye on it. But he has odds, by the way. I want to show you this, Bill. I'm surprised. He has prop odds on FanDuel. 80-plus yards is minus 182. 90-plus yards, minus 128. 100 and above, plus 108. I got to tell you, I did not watch the last game that they played very closely. So I'm not really sure if he had targets or, look, 300 is ridiculous. But honestly, for a player like this, under 20 is ridiculous too. So if it's somewhere in the middle, then you're going to make 4-1 on your money, plus 150. What do you think?
Well, he had 6 targets in the last game, a little trouble connecting. They didn't look really good against Northern Arizona. But for them to win this game, he has to have over 100 yards. He has to make a couple big plays in the passing game. I like that prop there. Yeah, I would go 100 yards because that would make this a shootout. You mentioned the over. I think it sneaks just under that. One trend to watch in this game on the other side, Avery Johnson, this guy that was a Heisman sleeper, hasn't had huge games because, again, their run the ball, stop the run, hasn't taken a sack. Kansas State, he's one of 4 Power 4 quarterbacks who hasn't taken a sack, and we're going to talk about another one here in a second. But if Arizona can't get pressure on him and Kansas State gets what they want on offense, they're going to win this football game.
All right, fair enough. All right, now let's get to the best defense in college football right now. It is Mizzou. Missouri ranks 6th in the country, playing as well as they have had ever. Bill, is it fair to say? I don't ever remember them being ranked 6th, but here they are taking on a Boston College team that is ranked simply because they beat FSU. I'm not sure how good FSU is anymore, honestly, but Missouri's 16.5 point favorites. The total is the fascinating part of this, only 53.5. So this seems to lend some credence here that Missouri is able to shut BC down on defense, but I would anticipate BC scoring points, right? Like BC hasn't, or Missouri hasn't given up any points yet.
Well, this is one I don't understand the line at all. I think it's going to be a close game. I like Boston College's ability to run the football, 282.5 yards per game. Thomas Castellano is kind of a dual threat quarterback. You and I both watched them go down to Florida State a couple weeks ago and just handle business in a tough place to play. I know Missouri's defense is tough. I think Luther Burden's been quiet for them. He'll maybe have a breakout game, but I look for this to maybe be the most entertaining game among the ranked teams this weekend because of BC. You mentioned that red bandana factor. I would encourage everybody to go watch the Wells Crowther story. It was amazing by ESPN. That's next weekend, but I think there'll be some inspiration from that given the September 11th anniversary. I like Boston College to cover. Missouri wins the game. It's close, maybe like a 30-27 type game.
All right, so that's an over there too, perhaps, from Bill. Now, this is where I mentioned earlier in the show, if you're betting trends in college football, generally this is the best one. And again, there's no easy bets. There's no guaranteed winning. I know you hear that from everybody. This is not one of those. But I'm just saying that a team playing at home unranked against a team that is ranked, getting points, covers more than they don't. And that may only be 51 or 52%, but that's what it is. They cover more than they don't. So South Carolina takes on LSU this week. We know the Gamecocks are not great, but that's what the scenario has painted. LSU 6.5 point favorites. This is down from 7, when the line initially came out. Total of 50.5. Can South Carolina keep it close?
So you're saying you think South Carolina covers, right? Is that, I want to get this part right?
Yes,
and more often than not, right?
Yeah, more often than not, team getting points at home against ranked opponent when you're unranked has been a recipe for success, but not 80% or 90% or anything like that nonsense that you'll hear.
I like it. I like the Gamecocks. You know that Williams-Brice, when it's on and rocking, it's a tough place to play. Dylan Stewart's got to get after Garrett Nussmeier a little bit. This freshman edge rusher for South Carolina is absolutely fantastic. Garrett Nussmeier is the other quarterback that hasn't taken a sack, hasn't been uncomfortable, hasn't been in that environment, even though they've won a game. But I'm with you on this one. I think it's a close game. With the game day environment, it's a bit of an emotional pick that goes against the trends a little bit. But I got LSU winning 28-24. The Gamecocks hang in this game. These two don't play enough. They haven't played since 2012. So I think South Carolina hangs around in this game. Really impressed with what they did against Kentucky last week.
Yeah, East versus West in the SEC, always a fun matchup. Hopefully that hurricane steers clear, and prayers to everybody going through that in Louisiana right now as it moves toward the east. All right, Bill, we'll keep an eye on the weekend, and certainly check back with you next week for a huge slate of games, by the way, in college football. Next week's a great slate. Thanks again for coming on.
Hey, thank you.
All right, Bill Bender with us. Again, the two teams ranked in the top 25 play Friday night. We don't have a ton of those this week. Wisconsin not ranked. Alabama's at Wisconsin. But take a look at the slate for college football next week. It's incredible. We'll be right back.
The Bostonian versus the Book.
Would it make you feel better as a bettor or as a sports fan if they said after the game we were trying to cover the spread?
Oh, God. To say it out loud? Oh, my God, no.
So what,
no to say it out loud? Oh, my God. You can't say that out loud. No, you can't do that.
Okay, so what is the big deal either way?
Oh, play the game the right way.
The Bostonian versus the Book.
I feel like the first person to take a kicker in fantasy football is somebody that feels like, man, I had a really bad draft. Let me make sure I get the best kicker. The way I've always looked at it that way. Like, oh, I did so bad, so let me take Justin Tucker.
The key for me is, though, I make marks. Okay, this guy, I'll highlight him because I don't want 3 or 4 of these guys. I draft 3 or 4 of these guys and they all get hurt. I have no one to blame but me.
Fantasy sports today, only on SportsGrid.
When you're really, really amazing like this, people kind of take it for granted. Same with Ohtani, right? People will sort of see, oh, Ohtani did this, Ohtani did that, and it sort of, becomes normalized a little bit. But to put in context, Aaron Judge joins the 1,000 hit club, reaches, gets it done. So earlier this month, he was the fastest player to reach 300 home runs ever.
Sports Rage Late Night, only on SportsGrid.
Let's go. Welcome to the Live Golf Team Championship.
The golf has been mesmerizing.
They are the Live Golf Team Champions.
Team golf is back.
Oh, yes!
Are you ready?
Let's go! That's what champions do.
All right, Miami Dolphins take on the Buffalo Bills tonight. We're going to check in with Dr. David Chow to get an SIC score on the game tonight. And as far as injuries are concerned, who comes in healthier, Miami or Buffalo? We know Miami has some running back issues. Also some issues maybe early on with the Arizona Cardinals. Let's get to it. It's time now for the Sports Grid Sound Off. I think when you look at rookie wide receivers in the National Football League, this can go one of two ways. Sometimes players are Randy Moss, and sometimes they're Quentin Johnson. You know what I mean? Like, and you know, sometimes they're in the middle too, but generally speaking, it's a very boom or bust position. Now, the Arizona Cardinals spent some high draft capital on Marvin Harrison Jr., and they actually played pretty well offensively last week against the Buffalo Bills. But one of the issues that came out of that was that Marvin Harrison Jr. was not targeted all that much, did not factor into the playbook all that much. And after the game, pretty much nothing was said. But then all of a sudden during the week this week, Kyler Murray was asked about getting the ball to Harrison. And basically Murray said, I have a sense and a feel for guys when they don't get the ball and when they are getting me the ball, but I'll leave that up to Drew. He just tells me don't worry about that type of stuff. And then Murray ended up saying sometimes the ball goes to him, but that's not my job. Needless to say, Harrison, talking to the media during the week, expressed some of the same disappointment.
I mean, honestly, it wasn't great. It definitely wasn't what I expected, what I wanted to happen, what the team wanted to happen. Obviously, you want to come out with a victory, and we didn't do that.
How do you evaluate your own performance?
Yeah, I mean, obviously it wasn't great. I need to do a better job, helping the team win, helping the offense. And that's why it kind of brought me here, is to help the team, help the offense, go. So I had to do a better job of that going forward.
In what ways specifically?
I got to get open and catch the ball. That's my job as a receiver. That is your job description.
Sneaky feeling this week Marvin Harrison Jr. has a good game. Usually when this happens in the NFL, after a bad week, you hear the talking, and then all of a sudden the guy bounces back. I think that that's probably going to be the case for Harrison this week. All right, now let's check in on Thursday Night Football. The injury updates are in. Raheem Mostert is out. How does the scoring look like in terms of injuries for both teams? Here is our very own Dr. David Chow.
Raheem Mostert, Dolphins running back, already ruled out week 2 versus the Bills on Thursday. What injury does he have, and when can he return? It's listed as a chest injury by video. He has a sternoclavicular joint sprain, a sprain of this joint right here, and likely, even if it were a regular 7-day cycle, would miss week 2. Likely to miss week 3 at least as well, but hopefully stay off of injured reserve. No surgery, will make full recovery. This is a less severe version of the same injury that Hollywood Brown for the Chiefs had in the preseason, where he required brief hospitalization and a procedure to put the joint back in place. Tyreek Hill had this injury too when he was with the Chiefs. The good news is Mostert didn't require hospitalization, not as severe, but likely to miss several weeks and hopefully stay off of injured reserve and full return for the Dolphins soon. This is Dr. David Chow, Sports Injury Central, SICScore.com.
All right, thanks, Dr. Chow. Again, tonight, great game, Buffalo and Miami. Speaking of which, we will preview the game. We've got a full look at it. Point spread, of course, Miami favored by 2.5 against the Buffalo Bills. Josh Allen undefeated on Thursday Night Football. Kevin Walsh has his eye on this game tonight and what could potentially happen in Miami Gardens.
Thursday Night Football in South Beach, the Miami Dolphins hosting the Buffalo Bills, which is what happened last year in the regular season finale. The division was on the line. For Buffalo, their playoff lives were on the line, and they beat Miami again. The Dolphins all of last year could not seemingly beat playoff caliber teams. I'm in on the Dolphins this year. I think that story changes. I think they're better both sides of the football. And I think they're better than the Buffalo Bills on both sides of the football. So at 2.5, that's the only way that I can look here. It's a prove-it spot for Miami. Laying 2.5 is not too big of a number with home field advantage factoring in. This total has been dropping. It checks in right now at 48.5, opened in the 50s. People looking to still bet under early season rust, which we saw a lot of in week 1. Still looking to keep an eye on it, out on if Devon Achane will check in for the Dolphins in this game. Craig, it's back to you.
All right. Thanks very much, Kevin. And we won't hold the South Beach comment against him, but I will explain this all to you here at SportsGrid. That game being at South Beach is the equivalent of saying that our studios in New Jersey are like being in Brooklyn. It is the same comparison. Story for another day. Brady Kannon joins us next.
The Bostonian versus the book.
Would it make you feel better as a bettor or as a sports fan if
No.
they said after the game we were trying to cover the spread?
Oh God, to say it out loud. Oh my God, no.
So what?
No, to say it out loud. Oh my God, you can't say that out loud. No, you can't even. You can't do that.
Okay, so what is the big deal? Either way.
Oh, play the game the right way.
The Bostonian versus the book.
I feel like the first person to take a kicker in fantasy football is somebody that feels like, man, I had a really bad draft. Let me make sure I get the best kicker. That's the way I've always looked at it that way. Like, oh, I did so bad, so let me take Justin Tucker.
The key for me is, though, I make marks. Okay, this guy, I'll highlight him because I don't want 3 or 4 of these guys. I draft 3 or 4 of these guys and they all get hurt. I have no one to blame but me.
Fantasy sports today, only on SportsGrid.
When you're really, really amazing like this, people kind of take it for granted. Same with Ohtani, right? People will sort of see, oh, Ohtani did this, Ohtani did that, and it sort of, becomes normalized a little bit. But to put in context, Aaron Judge joins the 1,000 hit club, reaches, gets it done. So earlier this month, he was the fastest player to reach 300 home runs ever.
Sports Rage Late Night, only on SportsGrid.
Let's go.
Welcome to the Live Golf Team Championship.
The golf has been mesmerizing.
They are the Live Golf Team Champions.
Team golf is back.
Oh, yes!
Are you ready?
Let's go! That's what champions do.
Welcome back to NewsWire here on SportsGrid. There's a funny line from a television show called Seinfeld back in the day, where one of the characters says, just when I thought I was out, they pull me back in. But in this case, as we bring in Pat Evans, as it comes to sports betting in the state of Missouri, just when I thought we were in, they pull me back out. I mean, come on, Pat. What is going on here? Is this going to be on the ballot in November? Is it not going to be on the ballot? I just got done talking to somebody the other day about this. They said, sports betting going to be legal anywhere else in the United States this year? I'm like, maybe Missouri. What's going on here, man?
Well, first of all, I mean, I'm really excited to talk about Missouri, but I really want you to have a segment soon to fully discuss, the geographic similarities between Miami and New York. I really need a full segment on that. So please schedule that in. But as for Missouri, it is going to be on the ballot. We know this. We know that much. The ballot was finalized on Tuesday by the Secretary of State, and it's going to be on the ballot. So, we know that. This opposition, though, is not surprising. I think, we've talked about this throughout the summer, really, as the ballot petition was getting underway and getting the signatures turned in, the certification. We were told there was going to be some opposition at some point. That, of course, started with a lawsuit at the end of last month, challenging the certification process. I think we talked about it earlier this week. I watched a whole, couple 7 hours of a very boring Law and Order-esque situation where we were talking to signature experts and everything, and it turns out the judge ruled with the Secretary of State, said the certification process was all good, it's fine, it's okay. But as that ruling comes through, now there's a campaign that has popped up to oppose the sports betting ballot initiative, and we don't know much about it, just like we don't know much about who was behind the lawsuit. It's just some political operatives in the state. We're trying to dig and see what we can find, who's going to be against this opposition. They said they're going to bring together a huge coalition of people to oppose it. So we know that their issue on the website they have is all about the language and how it was written behind closed doors by out-of-state companies and the professional sports teams with loopholes and all that, and it won't actually bring any money to Missouri. And to fund education. And we'll see if that's, we know that there's support, 50% in the latest poll for, and 21% undecided. So it seems like it's a sure bet to pass at this point. Again, we'll have to watch it really closely on election day. That's the election I'll be watching, opposition, we'll see opposition ads. Speaking of ads, Winning for Missouri Education, the coalition that put this on the ballot, released their first ad with a Missouri teacher and mom talking about the benefits of how the tax money will go to the education in the state. So, it's going to be one of those political ad battles in Missouri. You see plenty of political ads this time of year, and they're just going to add to it.
Yeah. And look, at least it's on the ballot, so we get to take that step forward. And the opposition, we'll see how much they have to do with whether or not people vote yes or no. Okay, now one discussion that has been very prominent in sports betting is, in order to solve some of the problem gambling, is to limit sports bettors. Now, naturally, the books don't want to do this, but it may be in the best interest of some people to know when it is too much to bet. What's going on here in Massachusetts? This is sort of surrounding a discussion in a roundtable to talk about whether or not they can implement this.
Well, so what's happened in Massachusetts is the regulators, it's a very, we talk about it all the time on this show, whether it's me or Mike or Jim or whoever was covering it at the time. They started talking about this at the beginning of the year, really. They said they've been receiving complaints from bettors saying they're being limited and they don't know why. And they want to get to the bottom of it. They want some transparency. They want data from the operators. They want to know, how these limits are set and all that. Well, their first meeting, I think it was in May, only one operator showed up, Bally's, and the rest of the operators in the state didn't show up. They had said they wanted to take part, but they wanted it to be operators only, and there was a lot of privileged information that they wouldn't want to share widely. And, so that happened, and there was just mostly industry people saying, industry adjacent people talking about it, but no real operator input. So then months go by, and now here we are. Yesterday, the Massachusetts Gaming Commission met for about 3 hours. First half was all 8 operators in the state, including FanDuel, DraftKings, Caesars, BetMGM. And then the second half was, again, industry-adjacent people talking about the issues of limiting. And really, it was pretty insightful from the operator point of view. I mean, they kept some things back, but they tried to open up. They said it's a very small number of people who are limited, and it's really through a long review process of better behavior and things like that they kind of look at before they limit. FanDuel said in 2023 it was less than 1% of all bets in Massachusetts reached the user limit, whatever the specific limit is. So it's, again, a very small portion. The Gaming Commission said, they want more transparency. They're trying to work with it. They want to make sure bettors, casual bettors, because a lot of the operators are talking about how it's operators that take advantages against the sports books, and they find that behavior. And a lot of them said that it was often losing bettors or at the time they were limited, they were still loser bettors. They just figured it out from the behavior. Again, it's going to be a lengthy discussion at this point to see where we're at, or what the Massachusetts Gaming Commission will do. Again, they just want to protect the casual bettor who might get caught up in this. And again, it's probably a very small amount of people, but they want to make sure it's not happening and pushing them to the offshore market. That's something they said was very important to them, was keeping the transition to the open regulated market strong. And so we'll see what happens. I assume there's going to be another discussion, because the Jordan Maynard, the interim chair, said, this is going to be a long discussion, something they got to think carefully about and deliberate carefully. So we'll see. It is certainly something you see a lot of on sports betting Twitter, is the people saying they've been limited or being upset that they're limited. And so Massachusetts has been a trendsetter in a lot of ways, tackling subjects like this. So we'll see what they do, if they do anything, and see, if other states follow suit.
Yep. Max bets conversation, something that could be a big story in 2025 as we move forward. All right, the numbers are in from betting on the Olympics, and lo and behold, here we go again. People are doing same-game parlays at the Olympics. I mean, tell me this isn't true, Pat. Tell me it ain't true.
No, apparently it was. So FanDuel released their report on the Paris Olympics betting, and it was up 5 times the amount as Tokyo in 2021. That's pretty significant, I would think. But I think that's kind of an overall trend in general. I mean, how much more did I watch? How much more did you watch, Craig, of the Olympics this year than the one 3 years ago, however the timeline works out now? It was a lot. You know, I watched a lot of the Olympics this year, and I didn't in 2021. So it'll be it kind of goes hand in hand with that. To your point, the parlays were up a huge amount. They said it was specifically around basketball, especially, which isn't a big surprise with how fun it was to watch that Olympic team and Steph Curry finish that gold medal game. So I'm not surprised, and we'll see how much more it grows in the next Olympics, especially with it being in the U.S.
Yeah,
Summer
and
Olympics,
by the way,
that is.
yeah, and by that time, maybe the state of California has sports betting as a possibility.
That could be.
I mean, yeah, it could be 4 years from now. All right, Pat, great to have you here on the show. Once again, we'll see you next week on NewsWire. Thanks for coming on.
Thanks, Craig. Talk to you soon.
Pat's content over at LegalSportsReport.com. Brady Kannon getting ready to launch his podcast for this week on the contest show, and they're off to a great start at the Las Vegas Super Contest. I feel like the first person to take a kicker in fantasy football is somebody that feels like, man, I had a really bad draft. Let me make sure I get the best kicker. The way I've always looked at it that way. Like, oh, I did so bad, so let me take Justin Tucker.
The key for me is, though, I make marks. Okay, this guy, I'll highlight him because I don't want 3 or 4 of these guys. I draft 3 or 4 of these guys and they all get hurt. I have no one to blame but me.
Fantasy sports today, only on SportsGrid.
When you're really, really amazing like this, people kind of take it for granted. Same with Ohtani, right? People will sort of see, oh, Ohtani did this, Ohtani did that, and it sort of, becomes normalized a little bit. But to put in context, Aaron Judge joins the 1,000 hit club, gets it done. So earlier this month, he was the fastest player to reach 300 home runs ever.
Sports Rage Late Night, only on SportsGrid.
Let's go.
Welcome to the Live Golf Team Championship.
The golf has been mesmerizing.
They are the Live Golf Team Champions.
Team golf is back.
Oh, yes!
Are you ready?
Let's go!
That's what champions do.
Welcome back to NewsWire here on SportsGrid. Brady Kannon, James Salinas, Mike Pritchard. They got a great podcast out and a show that airs here on SportsGrid on Saturday nights or Sunday mornings, depending on when you watch it. Friday night, Saturday morning, depending on where you watch it. You can also download the podcast too. Give some great insight on contests. And I know a lot of you play in these sports betting contests, maybe for big money, maybe just in an office pool. And I think that will give you some insight. Let's recap how Brady and his team did in week 1, which I know based on listening to the podcast and talking to you last week, seems like a pretty good start for you guys.
Yeah, it was, Craig. It came down to the Jets on Monday night, and we saw what happened there. I think San Francisco surprised everybody. You know, a Super Bowl loser going against that team in week 1 has been a profitable experience, but the Niners came out and looked maybe even better than they did last year. So we lost that game, but that still gave us a 3-2 week in both the Westgate Super Contest and the Circus Sports Million. And in the Super Contest, the top 5 consensus picks went 2-3. And in the Circus Sports Million, they went 1-4. So we gained a lot of ground going 3-2 on the majority. So that was a good start. Circus Survivor, we hit 2 out of 3. We lost like almost 5,000 people did on the Bengals. There was 14,000 people, $14.2 million, 14,200 people in the Circa Survivor pool, and about 4,800 went by the wayside with
crazy.
the Bengals. One of our entries was included there. We have 3 entries total. We won, we advanced with Seattle and Tampa Bay. So it's basically the same where we sit. We had 3 entries with 14.2. Now we have 2 entries with 8,700. So, we're kind of in the same boat. I think it's okay that, if we were going to lose one, it's not so bad that we lost one that everybody lost one with. So we're okay with that. And, we kind of went back and forth about that Bengals pick and ultimately said, what the heck, let's go with it. The other one we were going to take was the Bills. And of course, hindsight's 2020, but we're all right. Off to a decent start.
Right. And I think did you guys have Tennessee in those contest picks? I mean,
That was so brutal, man.
60 teams up. I saw that stat. Teams up 17 points with 5 minutes to go, getting points in an NFL game in their last 64 chances, covered 63 out of the 64 times. That's what Tennessee did on Sunday. So, I mean, that was a
all I needed was a field goal in the second half. They got shut out the entire second half after
Brady,
being
all
up
you
17 to nothing.
was Levis. All you needed was Levis to lay on the ground for a whole game, and they would have won the game. He was throwing it to the other team. I mean, it was insane the way that happened. So you can't be upset with that one. Can't be. Right side, right take. All right, so now let's go to week 2 here in the National Football League, and again, we have some situations here where I think we have some pretty big overreactions in some lines. I don't know if you locked in anything here in your mind with the contest lines coming out yesterday, but it certainly seems like it's overreaction city here for week 2 for me. What do you think?
I think one of the biggest overreactions, Craig, is Jordan Love not being the starting quarterback in Green Bay. Over the summer at the Westgate Superbook, this opened up as a 5-point favorite in favor of Green Bay, of course, being at home. I thought it maybe should have been 6. I was thinking with Jordan Love, they would be a 6-point favorite over the Colts. Now, obviously, Love's not going to play. It'll be Malik Willis. So I thought maybe the game was a pick-em. I thought there was a 6-point adjustment there from Love to Willis. Well, apparently the sports books think it's a 9 or 9.5-point adjustment. I took the 3.5. In the contest, it's 3. And I've seen in the live market, it's come down to 2.5. That's a massive adjustment. 9, almost 10-point adjustment from one quarterback to the other. And we're not talking, Aaron Rodgers to so-and-so here. I mean, for me, I would think that is a 7 or 8-point adjustment at the most. So I thought that was an overreaction there. And you know how it goes. When a team loses their hero, the rest of the troops typically rally, around and next man up, that type of thing. That very next week out, you usually get a full effort from that squad that has lost their star. So I expect Green Bay to come with a big effort in week 2. And the Colts, they covered for us in week 1, but I don't think they're anything too special just yet anyway. So for them to be a road favorite by 3 points at Green Bay, I thought was overreaction in my opinion.
Yeah, I think the books are setting the floor very low on the Packers quarterbacks. I think that's kind of the story here, is that there's just no confidence whatsoever in Clifford or Willis, depending on, I guess it's going to be Willis. It could be Clifford in the second half too. Boy, that would change things, and Packers could make a change at the half. You never know. All right, tonight, Dolphins, Bills. Josh Allen undefeated on Thursday Night Football. They've always given the Dolphins fits, but these games have always been close. The total is 48.5. Brady, if you dreamed about this game last night, what did you think? The score is tied, fourth quarter, 3 minutes to play. Someone's kicking a field goal to win the game, right? Like, doesn't it feel like that's going to play out tonight?
Yep, I would say that's probably the case, and I have no idea which team it's going to be kicking that winning field goal. These are probably the 2 most injured teams in the NFL right now. You've got the secondary for both teams really banged up. The offensive line, for Miami, a little banged up. Their running game, their offense was not good against the Jacksonville Jaguars. The defense was not good for the Buffalo Bills. I really don't know which way to go here. From a numbers standpoint, it would make sense to lay the 2.5 with the Dolphins because you're laying less than a field goal. That would be the prudent play. I also know that I think the books are rooting heavily for the Buffalo Bills here. It seems like there's an onslaught of money on Miami. I also know that there's a lot of money on Josh Allen and Tyreek Hill for an anytime touchdown. So I'd be careful with that. The books are overloaded with those two guys to score a touchdown. And you know what happens when they're overloaded one way.
Oh, yeah.
It usually goes the other way. So, yeah, I'm going to stay away and watch this one. But, yeah, I think you're right. It'll come down to the wire and flip a coin who it's going to be winning this one.
Yeah, feels like that too. All right, Brady, good luck with the contest this week. We'll be listening and watching the podcast over on SportsGrid TV and on YouTube as well. We'll see you next week. Thanks for coming on.
Thank you, Craig.
All right, SportsGrid Sound Off coming up next. We'll be right back.
The Bostonian versus the book.
Would it make you feel better as a bettor or as a sports fan if they said after the game we were trying to cover the spread?
Oh, God. To say it out loud? Oh, my God, no.
So what,
no. To say it out loud? Oh, my God. You can't say that out loud. No, you can't do that.
Okay, so what is the big deal either way?
Oh, play the game the right way.
The Bostonian versus the book.
I feel like the first person to take a kicker in fantasy football is somebody that feels like, man, I had a really bad draft. Let me make sure I get the best kicker. That's the way I've always looked at it that way. Like, oh, I did so bad, so let me take Justin Tucker.
The key for me is, though, I make marks. Okay, this guy, I'll highlight him because I don't want 3 or 4 of these guys. I draft 3 or 4 of these guys and they all get hurt. I have no one to blame but me.
Fantasy sports today, only on SportsGrid.
When you're really, really amazing like this, people kind of take it for granted. Same with Ohtani, right? People will sort of see, oh, Ohtani did this, Ohtani did that, and it sort of, becomes normalized a little bit. But to put in context, Aaron Judge joins the 1,000 hit club, reaches, gets it done. So earlier this month, he was the fastest player to reach 300 home runs ever.
Sports Rage Late Night, only on SportsGrid.
Let's go. Welcome to the Live Golf Team Championship.
The golf has been mesmerizing.
They are the Live Golf Team Champions.
Team golf is back.
Oh, yes! Are you ready?
Let's go! That's what champions do.
Welcome back to NewsWire here on SportsGrid. Lots of afternoon baseball today, and of course the New York Mets are fighting their way, trying to get into the postseason. Also, we're going to discuss Allen Iverson, or Iverson Allen. You ever heard of either? Yeah, you probably have. It's time now for some last licks. All right, let's get started off with the New York Mets infielder, who, by the way, right now is one of the potential candidates to win the most valuable player in the National League. That, of course, is Francisco Lindor. But what Lindor did, I think, yesterday is super cool. Lindor has a glove that honored the first responders on September 11th, as you can see it right there in New York City. Very, very strong gesture, I thought, by him. And, certainly September 11th is a day that will go down in the history as one of the, toughest days I think, for everybody, just to endure every single year, just honoring the people who lost their lives in the first responders. So really nice job, I thought, by Francisco Lindor. I don't think he's going to win the MVP. He does not have my vote for the MVP. That would be Ohtani. But a very big fan of Lindor. And by the way, right now on a trajectory to be a Hall of Famer. and definitely well-deserved. Great guy, great player, having a great season, too. He'll be runner-up for the MVP when they vote on it next month. All right, now let's move on. And as we continue to discuss the world of baseball, there is a player in Major League Baseball. Topps has a card there of Iverson Allen. Yes, that is Iverson Allen. He has a Bowman Chrome card that's been signed, as you can see there. He's got to do a better job on that signature, if I would say so myself. But yes, his name is Iverson Allen. His name is not Allen Iverson. How about that? So there's a player in baseball coming, and his name is Iverson Allen. Now, Allen Iverson, one of the greatest players in the history of the NBA, Hall of Famer as well. Has rookie cards as well, some signed stuff, I'm guessing. But yeah, this is an actual player who has the name backwards. And if he makes it into Major League Baseball, I would guess he'll be pretty popular as well. So there you go. If you want to purchase a Bowman Chrome card of Iverson Allen, I believe he's on the Pirates. Is that right, Frank? I think he's on the Pirates, if I'm saying so myself. Yes, there he is. He's on the Pittsburgh Pirates. Iverson Allen, congrats. All right, breakdancing. Remember breakdancing, how popular this was about a month ago? We talked about it at the Olympics. Well, how about Australia's Rachel Ray Gunn? That's her nickname. Gunn is now the #1 ranked breakdancer in the world, according to the World Dance Sport Federation. She's #1. Congratulations to her. Now, here is indeed the issue. How did the Olympics get to the point where they made breakdancing part of the Olympic Games and then decide to never, ever have it again? I am not understanding how this even happened, because I think that we were all a little bit skeptical, and there were a lot of memes and jokes about breakdancing at the Olympics, and the people who won the gold, they were like, people were saying I could do it myself. This is obviously a skill, and it obviously takes a lot of preparation to be as good as anyone who's participating in this. But the Olympics decides to put it in, skepticism around, and then now decides to take it out, but yet there's still people competing to be the #1 ranked person in the world. Don't understand this whole thing. But needless to say, I say bring it back to the Olympics. Why not? I would do it. All right, that'll do it for Last Licks today. And by the way, coming up next, we've got some fun programming, but I want to tell you a very special show coming up later today. Live from Las Vegas, ahead of the big fights, Pharrell Coast to Coast. Scotty is in Vegas for the show, so that's 3 o'clock Eastern. Make sure you stay tuned for that. That's followed by Game Time Decisions. And then, of course, with the NFL back tonight, we've got Pro Football Today, previewing the Dolphins and Bills in-game live tonight, and then Pro Football Today post-game. And by the way, that's each and every Thursday night here on SportsGrid. Also want to thank our director, Luke, and our producer, Frank, as well as our guest contributors on the show today. Pat Evans from Legal Sports Report, Brady Kannon of the SportsGrid Network. Thanks to him, as well as Bill Bender from Sporting News. For those of you looking for the latest odds in college and pro football and you want to get them free, it's very easy to do. Just download the SportsGrid app. Take out your phone and scan this QR code. It is sitting right there for you. Download it for iOS and Android. It is the SportsGrid app. And by the way, it is completely free to download at your convenience. We're back on the show tomorrow here on NewsWire. Manny Navarro from The Athletic will join us and tell us if what we're seeing from the University of Miami football team is legit, as their schedule gets a little bit tougher after this week and conference play begins in October. Can they make a run toward a college football playoff appearance? We will tell you tomorrow. So I hope you enjoy the rest of your day. See you tomorrow here on our next edition of NewsWire.
Energy to Game Time Decisions that you